Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be attempting the age calculator app, which is a challenge from Frontend Mentor. So you can head over into frontendmentor.io/challenges, and currently it is the latest challenge. So I'm just going to click on this card, and then I'm going to say start challenge, and then I'm going to say download starter, which is going to download the starter files for me. And so once it downloads the starter files, then you're going to get it into your downloads folder. So whichever folder that you've selected to be a download folder, and you're going to get a folder called age calculator app main. So I'm going to extract this, so right click, and then I'm going to say extract here, and then once it extracts, then it's going to extract into this folder that is called age calculator app main, which I'm going to right click and say open with code, which is going to open up an instance of Visual Studio Code. Now I want to build out this application using Next.js. So I'm going to open up my integrated terminal using Ctrl and J, and then I'm going to cd out of this folder. Actually, let me just say cd backslash, and then I'm going to say cd into users, into Sankara, into a desktop, and then into a folder that is called YT videos. And then inside this folder, I'm going to say npx create next app, because we're going to be using Next.js, and I'm going to call this age calculator. And then I'm going to let this run. First, let's go through some steps. So we are not going to be using TypeScript, and then we want ESLint, we want the source directory, we don't want the update directory, and then the import can remain as default. And then I'm going to let this run, and then once it finishes running, we are going to begin building our application. And I just want to mention that we're going to be using Tailwind CSS, and we're also going to be using date FNS, which is going to help us to handle our dates. So let's navigate right away into the Tailwind CSS website. So Tailwind, and then let's also navigate into the date FNS website, because we're going to need some references from date FNS to help us along. So date FNS loading, and then let's go inside the documentation. And then for now, it's just going to remain open, but we're going to go through this documentation once we start building this out. So let this run. And so there we go. So this is finished. So now I want to navigate into the folder that has just been created, and I want to open up another instance of Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to say code age-calculator, and this is going to open up another instance of VS Code into this folder. And then for this one, I'm going to place it to the left, and then I'm going to place this to the right, because we need to do a bit of copying and pasting. And so therefore what we're going to do is this, and I'm going to say, let me see, we need the style guide, the readmes, we don't need the index HTML, we need the design files and the assets. So let's just drag and drop, and we're going to say copy folders, replace this one, that's okay. And then inside this git ignore, I'm going to copy everything, so copy, and then inside our Next.js application, inside this git ignore, we're going to go to the bottom and paste everything, and then we're just going to leave it open for a moment. Should we copy the index HTML? I don't think we're going to need this. Yeah, it's very minimal. We're not going to need this. Probably we're going to need the attribution class, if I do remember it. So let's just place this full screen, and then we're going to change this line to line 38, and this one to line 39, and then we're going to change this to line 45, and then save it. And then let's go ahead and install Tailwind CSS next. So let's navigate into the Tailwind CSS website, so framework guides, and then we're going to go into Next.js, and then let's begin with the steps. So copy and paste, and then copy this one, and then let this run, and then we're going to paste this second one in, which is going to create our Tailwind config file. So as it creates that, because we're using the source folder, so we're going to copy this part, so copy, and then inside our Italian config file, which has just been created, we are going to paste this in and then save it. And then we're going to copy these 3 lines and we're going to paste them inside our globals.css. So inside the source folder, inside the styles, and then inside globals.css, we're going to select everything and remove it, and then we can paste in our 3 lines. And then let's see, now we can begin to run our dev server. But before I run our dev server, let's go ahead and install datefns as well, because we know that we're going to need it. So I'm going to say npm install date-fns. So install that as well. And then now we can begin to structure this. We are not going to be using the home module CSS, so just right click and delete this file. And then inside the pages folder, let's go inside the index.js, and we're going to remove this part up to here. And wait a minute, what? Yes, let's move everything up to the head, and then let's remove this as well. We don't need it. And then we're going to remove everything inside the main element, so everything all the way to the bottom, so just remove it. And then let's return an h1 that says age calculator. And then you can save it, and then let's change this up to say front-end mentor, and then I'm going to say age calculator up, and then this can remain the same, it doesn't really matter all that much. And then let's go ahead and save this, and then now we can begin to run our dev server by saying npm run dev. But this is still running. Why is this still running so slow, and it's messing up everything? Okay, so let this finish running, and then we can begin to run our dev server by saying npm run dev. And actually, you know what, let's just begin to do this. Let's return our main element, and then inside this main element, I should probably open up the design file so that we have something to work with. So the desktop design, this one, let that open up so that we can begin to work with everything. And then as it opens up, by the way, I just remembered that we need to get a font. So inside our style guide markdown file, let's go ahead and grab this font that is called Poppins. We need the 400, 700, and 800, and these are italic. Okay, so we need the 400 italic, 700 bold, and 800 italic. So let this be full screen. This is what we're going to be building. So let's go ahead and say this. So we need the 400 italic, so this one. Wait a minute, remove these tags, remove all of this so that it doesn't confuse. So we need the 400 italic, we need the 700 bold, and then we need the 800 italic, so this one. And then let's use the import tab. So copy this, and then inside our, where is it, inside our global CSS, we can close this file. Then I'm going to paste it above the tailwind, and then I'm going to say that let everything have a font family of Poppins with a fallback of sans serif. And then we can save this, and then let's go ahead inside here, let's return an h1 that says, let's just say line 4 or something, so that we can run our dev server. So let's say npm run dev, so that we can begin to work with what we can actually see on the screen. And then here we know that we're going to need the purple. Purple is going to be our main color, and I'm just going to use the tailwind version of it because it is really close to this purple. Light red, we're going to use the tailwind version for light red as well. And these others are not really all that, we don't really like, what am I saying? My train of thought is disappearing. We can just use tailwind for all these colors, it's okay. And then for the inputs, we know that the size for the inputs is going to be 32 pixels, so we're going to make that as well. So now therefore let's do this. Let's navigate into localhost 3000 because our app is running. So localhost 3000, and you can see that now our app is only rendering this because that is what we have inside the h1. So let's place this to the right, and then let's place this to the left, and then we're going to do the following. So inside here, we're going to say we're going to return a div. So let's return a div with a class of max width dash large and mx auto with a background of white, so bg white, with a very slight rounded border. and then we're going to say give it a slide box shadow as well, and then give it a padding all round of 8. And then inside here, let's just return lorem 5 so that you can see where it's going to be. So it doesn't really stand out because it is white on white. So what you can do is inside our global CSS, we can define the body to have a background color. So using tailwind, I'm just going to say apply bg slate dash 100, and you can see that now this stands up just a bit more. And then because I want this to push inwards a bit, I'm also going to give the body a padding all round of 8, which is going to push this container inwards, and you can see that now we have our container looking nice. And so let's begin to build out our structure. So let's see what we need. So we need 3 inputs. So we need 3 inputs, and then we need this line with this image. I think this is an image, and then we need the text on the bottom. So let me see, let's check our assets, and then the images should be icon arrow, this one. So what we need to do is we need to grab this icon arrow. So just cut it out, and then inside the source folder, we're going to create a new folder that is called images. And then inside this images folder, we're going to paste in this icon arrow so that we can actually use it. And then let's go ahead and begin to do this. So let's remove the h1, and then let's return another div inside here. And then inside this div, let's return a form. And then it's not going to have an action, but it's going to have an article inside here. And then inside this article, we're going to have a label. The first one is going to be for the day, and the text is just going to say day. And then we're going to have an input with a type of number. The name is going to be day because we want it to link to this label. The ID is going to be day. The placeholder is just going to say double D. And then we want the minimum number to be 1, and we want the maximum number to be 31. And then once we have that, let's see what else we need to do. Currently nothing, but you can save this so that we see what you have on the screen, and you can see that this is what we have. So let's begin to style this out, and I want to style all the labels and the inputs in our globals.css. So I'm going to say that for all the labels, then I want to say apply, and I want them to be block elements, and I want them to be uppercase with the font bold, and then margin bottom of 4 to push them away from the inputs just a bit. There we go. And then for the inputs, we're going to say this at apply. We want the background to be transparent, so bg transparent. We don't want a border, but we want an outline. So let me say outline dash purple dash, like what, let's say 400. How does that look? Does it even show? Oh, the outline only shows on hover. Oh yeah, that is correct. The outline should okay, the outline only shows on hover. So here let's have a border first, and then we're going to have a border of purple 600 so that we can actually see the border. And then let's give all the inputs a width of full, and then let's give them padding y of 3 and a padding x of 4 with a rounded border. And then we're going to say text is going to be large. Let's see, large, or let's say XL. No, not XL. Let's say 3XL. How much is that? 30 pixels. Yes, that is correct. And then for the placeholder is going to be slate dash like 400. Let's see. And then we're going to say this. Let me see. Let's reload this so that you can actually see the placeholder. So this is the placeholder text. And then I want that when I focus on the input, I want it to have an outline. So let's call it ring 4. And then on focus, once again, I want the outline to have a color of purple dash 600. And then let's have a slight transition. So transition all with a duration of 150 for the outline. And then let's save it. And then now look at this. So we're going to have that. Ooh, and see what happens right there. We don't want like this double edgedness. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that on focus, then we want the border to be purple dash 600 as well. So that now when I click on this, and what is happening? What is this? What is this? Let me see. We have a border purple with full. focus border purple. What if I say border none here? What happens? What is this? What is this? Is it okay? Let's say border purple 600, but let's give it an outline of none. Let's see. Okay, there we go. That is what I wanted. So this is what I wanted. And then now we can go ahead and we can create the rest of the inputs. So let's copy this article, copy it down. So oops, so this is going to be for the month and then the year. And then let's select this text and say Control D. So Control D, 1 2 3 4. Oops, sorry, 1 2 3. And then change this to month, and then change this to mm. And then the minimum month is going to be 1, the maximum is going to be 12. And then this is going to say year. So year, the minimum is, wait, what is this? So yy, this is going to say yy. The minimum year, I guess we can begin to start to search from 1900. And then the maximum is going to be the current date for today, which is going to be 2023. And so if you're watching this in the future, then please make sure that you change this up. Okay, otherwise it's going to give you issues in your application. And then let's go ahead and save this, and let's see what we have on the screen. So we have the day, month, and year for our inputs. And then let's go inside the form because I want to separate out the inputs, right? So inside the form, let's give the form a class name. And then let's say give it a class name of flex. And then flex, wait a minute. Flex, and then we want it to be, how does it look on mobile? Okay, on mobile it looks like so. Okay, so it can just remain like this. So flex, and then we're going to say give it a gap of about 4 to separate everything out. And we're going to have that. Okay, so I have that. I'm seeing as though this margin is a bit too big on the label, so let's reduce this to about margin 2. And then now we have this for our inputs. Okay, that's looking okay. Now what we need to do is below this, below our div, so below this div, we're going to go below this div, we're going to create another div, and then this div is going to have a UL with 3 list items, and then each of these list items is going to have a span, so a span element, and the span element is going to be this purple text. So the purple text here is going to be the span, and then the text is going to come inside the list item. So for now, let's just have 38 for the span, and then the text is going to say years. Let's just hard code it in. So this is 3 months and 26 days. So 3 months. Wait a minute. We have a span first, and then 3, and then months, and then have a span, and then 26, and then days. So we're going to have that. Of course, we're going to substitute this once we make it dynamic. And so let's begin to style this out. Let's give this div a class name of margin top of 10. We pushed away massively from this. And then let's give this span a class name of text dash purple dash 600. And then inside this list item, let's give it a class name. And then let's say text dash, what did I use, 4XL? No, 3XL. 3XL, this is too small. Let's say 5XL. Okay, and then let's copy this class name. So copy this and paste it here, and also paste it here. And then let's copy the class names for the span and paste it here and paste it here. So that when I save it, then it's going to appear as follows. And then let's go inside the list item. Let's give it a class name of flex and flex column. Oops, flex column. So that I can give it a gap of about 2 to separate it out just a bit, just a bit. And we're going to have that. Let me see. This should be italic. So let's go inside here and make it italic. And then let's copy this class and paste it here and paste it here, which is going to make it italic. Okay, and we need it to be font bold. So font dash bold to make it bold. There we go. So copy this class once again and paste it here and paste it here and save it. And there we go. Okay. So therefore now what we need to do is we need to change these inputs into controlled inputs so that we can begin to evaluate the numbers that are typed inside here and then calculate the years, months, and the days. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to import useState. So import useState state from React. and then we're going to set up our state value. So I'm going to say count days and set days is equal to use state, and by default we're going to say it's just going to be an empty string, and then copy this down twice, change this to months and set months, and then this is going to be set years and then years as well. Okay, and then what we're going to do now is this. We're going to save this. Nothing is going to change on the screen, and then since nothing changes on the screen, what we're going to do is we're going to go inside these inputs, and then we're going to change them into controlled inputs. So the way we do that is by adding a value here, and then we're going to set this value equal to our state value, that is called days for the first one. And then when I save this, you're going to notice that we're not going to be able to change this input, because now we don't have an onChange handler for this input. So the way we fix that is by adding an onChange here, and we're going to say that when this changes, then we're going to target the synthetic event of e, and we're going to say set days into e.target.value, meaning update the input, or rather update the state value with whatever number is inside the input. And remember that the minimum is 1 and the maximum is 31. So that when I save this and I go up to a maximum of 31, then we are not going to go past this. But something that you should know is that if you type in a number, then it's going to go past 31. Okay, so just take note of that. And then we're going to do the same thing here for the rest of the inputs. So for this second one, we're going to say that the value for this is going to be months, and then on change we're going to say set months to e.target.value, and then once again we're going to go inside here, we're going to change the value for this into years, and then on change we're going to say set years into e.target.value, and then we're going to save this. And then now that we have changed this into control inputs, still if you try to update these numbers, nothing changes on the screen, right? Nothing changes on the screen. But what we can do now is we can begin to use datefns, which is going to evaluate these numbers for us. So we're going to import a few functions from datefns. The first one is called difference in days. So import difference in days from date-fns, and as its name suggests, this function is going to get the difference in days between two dates that you give it. So let's go into datefns. Right inside here, let's search for difference in days. Let's search for difference in days. There we go. And you can see that the definition here is that it gets the number of full days between two dates, and it takes in two arguments. So it takes in a date on the left and then a date on the right, and the date on the left is the later date and the date on the right is the earlier date. So we're going to do that, and the way we're going to use it is as follows. We are going to be using this one here because we don't want to get the number of hours or whatever like this one suggests. We only want to get the number of full days. So I'm going to copy this part. I should probably zoom in. So we're going to copy, oops, that's too much. We're going to copy this part. So copy, and then we're going to be rendering the result. But here we want to change this variable because I don't want to call it result. So I'm going to call it diff in days. And then this is just an example to show you how it's going to work. And then once I save this, then I want to go ahead and where we have the number of days, right? So inside this span, I no longer want to render a hard-coded item. Instead, I want to render diff in days, because remember, once this evaluates, it gives a value. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then we're going to check our application, and we're going to see that now it says 92 days. And if I try to change this, oops, nothing happens. Oh yeah, of course nothing happens because these dates are hard-coded inside. Okay, so we're going to use this, and we're going to create something similar for the months and for the years, because if you check inside here, and we say difference in months, we can use this function, and it's going to use, it takes in the same values, so the date on the left and the date on the right, and we're going to be using this one. So const result, once again here, just copy and paste it here and change this into diff in months, and then difference in months, of course we need to import it, so difference in days here, also import difference in months. And then where we have hard coded the number of months here, we want to pass in diff in months, and then here you can guess that this is now going to be diff in years that we have not yet created. So let's go ahead and create it, and we're going to say this. Let's go ahead and search for diff in years, and then we're going to say this. We're going to say copy this, so copy and then paste it here, and then we need to import this as well, so import it at the end of this. So difference in years, and then we can change this first of all, so change this into diff in years, and then when I save this and we take a look at our application, then you're going to say this is 1 year 7 months and 92 days, because those are currently the dates that we have passed in inside here. Now obviously we don't want this to be hard coded inside, so what I'm going to do is the later date, I'm going to give each of this a static date, which is going to be at the end of this year. So 2023, and then the month is going to be 12, so December, and then we want the 31st of December. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here as well, because I want to have a fixed time that we can calculate the dates with, right? Or calculate the age with. And probably I think it might even be a better idea if we get the current time here. So let me see. What happens if I say new date here? What does new date evaluate to? Let me check. New date. What does new date evaluate to? Let's see. New date. Let's see, what does this evaluate to? Run it. Oh, wait a minute. Console.log date 1, and then run it. So it evaluates to April 6th, and then I don't know whether this is going to work, but we can just try it out. We can try it out. If it doesn't work, then it's okay. So let's have this as new date, because hopefully I think this is going to get the current date no matter when you're watching this video. So it should notice my terminology, it should work. And then what we want to happen here, we want these dates to be dynamic depending on our inputs. So the way we do that is, obviously we want this to be the years that we have set inside here. So this needs to change into our value called years. So this one, copy and paste it here and here. And then for the number of days, we need to pass in the months as well as the days, right? For the number of days, let me save this. What happens here? Can I change this? Okay, see what happens? Now our dates are dynamic, or rather our number of days, but this is still a problem because there are only a maximum of 31 days in a month, so this is evaluating wrongly. So let me try something. Let me say if this evaluates from 2023 12/31, what happens? Does it show? Doesn't show. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I know the problem. The problem is how we are evaluating data fitness. So this needs to be years, and then this needs to be months, and then the number of days should remain at the end, because we only want to evaluate the number of days from 31. There we go. See that? So now this is evaluating correctly, because we can't go past 31 days, right? And then what we need to do is we need to do something almost similar to the number of years here. So instead of getting new date, we need to pass in the number of years here. And then I want it to evaluate from December, so 12, and then the 31st of December. And then here we need to pass in once again the number of months and then the number of days. And then save it. What happens here? We get 7 months. So can you go past 10 months? Wait, what? Shouldn't this be saying 11? Difference in months. I thought this would be saying 11. Let's see. Let's evaluate the number of years. So here, once again, we need to pass in the number of years. Actually, wait a minute. This is number of years. Number of years is not dependent on our state value called years. So we can just evaluate this from 2023 from 12/31, so December 31st. And then here we need to pass in the months once again, and then the days that we've passed in. So when I save this, it should be 119 years. But if I go on going upwards, then it evaluates correctly. Yes, okay. It doesn't go past 2023, so that's okay. And let me try to explain this a bit further, how I got to this, right? If you take a look at the documentation for day difference in months, let's use difference in months. What happens is, if you want to get the correct number of months between two dates, then look at this. You get that the years are almost the same. I think you can use different years if the months do not exceed 12. But if you want this to evaluate correctly, then you need to use the same number of years. So that's why I came up with using years here. And then the number of months is going to be dynamic depending on what date that you want to evaluate from and what date you want to evaluate to. And then this is also going to be dynamic, just the same logic. And then the same logic that you use here is the one that is applied on top as well, because you want these ones to be evaluated as the same number of years and months, but the days, you want the days to be different because you want this to evaluate to get the difference between your input and the actual number of days that you have passed in. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you can just go and do a bit of trial and error with the date FNS, and hopefully you're going to get it. And so what we're going to do now is this. Let me see what we need to do. So we get 30 years, 10 months, and 1 day. So let's see. I think what do we need to do? We need to what? Oh, wait a minute. This container looks different. Yes, it looks different. So it has a very large border radius on this bottom. So let's do this. Let's fix up a bit of things. So let's go inside this div. Inside this div, let's give it a rounded of 2xl. How big is that? Let's say 3xl. And then let's give it a custom style. And we're going to say border bottom right radius. And we're going to say 100. How big is that? So yeah, that looks okay. So this looks okay. And then we need this to come to the center. So what we're going to do is inside this main, we're going to give this a class name, and we're going to say display this as a flexbox. Okay, nothing changes. And then we're going to say items dash center and justify dash center, and then h screen, which is going to bring it here. But then the reason why you have this kind of scrolling is because of the padding that we applied. Now I don't want this to be on the center on mobile screens, because I feel like it might overflow, but I don't think it will. But just to be the safe side, then I want this to apply on large screens, and then this to also apply on large screens, and then this one on large screens, and then this one on large screens as well, so that on mobile screens this is going to go back to the top. See that? It's going to go out to the top, and then on large screens it's going to come to the middle. And then once that happens, then I want to remove this padding all around. Where did I apply that padding? Here. So let's say that for large screens, then the padding all around should be 0. which is going to remove the scroll bar. And there we go. That now this is perfectly centered. And then now what we need to do is we need to add in the error states. So where are they? Wait a minute, we need to add this in as well. And we also need to add in the error states, so these ones. So let's begin by adding in the image. So the image is going to be, where is it? Where does the image come in? Below the form. So below this div, we're going to have, let's just have another div, and then inside this div we're going to have what, image. The source for this image is going to be arrow, and then let's go ahead and import it. So let's say import arrow from dot slash what, dot slash or dot slash images forward slash icon dash arrow dot svg. And then when I save it, then it should show somewhere. Why aren't you showing? Oh, wait a minute, wait, this is Next.js. This is Next.js. So let's say import image from next image, so that we can go ahead and instead of showing, where is it? Instead of showing this, we're going to show the image component, and then we're going to give it a width of what? Let's say width of 50 and a height of 50. And then the source for this is going to be the image, sorry, it's called the arrow. And then the alt attribute is just going to say arrow icon, and then save it, and let's see what happens. And we have, why isn't the image showing? Let's see our dev tools. Image source has either width but not the other. What? Why isn't that image showing? Icon arrow, icon dash arrow dot svg. What? Width is 50, height is 50, source is this, the alt attribute is also there. What? Wait a minute, let's see, because the image is here. So let me see this image. Oh wait, the image is white. The image is white, really? So let's grab this, let's place it inside an article. Wait a minute, you know what? I think I can actually just style this inside here. Give this a class name of bg purple dash 600. Let me see, does that work? Okay, it works. And then we need it to have a padding around of 4 with a rounded of full. How does that look? Yeah, I suspected that would happen. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's say padding around of 2. And then let's go inside this div, give it a class name, and say margin top of, what did I use? What did I use here? 10. I used 10 here. So let's say 10. And then I want this to come to the end. Is 10 too much? I think 10 is too much. I think 10 is too much. Let's go ahead and do this because we need this image to come here, right? Let's increase. Let's go ahead and say this. Let's grab this image and place it inside an article. And then let's have in another article. And then inside this article, we're going to give it a class name, and we're going to say border dash bottom, and then border dash slate dash 400. Where does it appear? Should be somewhere here. Oh, here it is. And then I want this to move here. So what I'm going to do is give this article a class name of absolute. Move it to the right by about 8, which would bring it somewhere here. Oh wait, it's going to bring it here. But then we want it to be relative to this div. So this div, we're going to give this div a class name of relative, which is then going to bring it here or here. So this is right of 8. So instead of right of 8, I want it to be the right of 0, which means it's going to bring it exactly here. And then bring it topwards. So bring it to the minus top. Wait a minute, let me say top 0. Where does it go? Okay, that's not what I want. So let's say minus top of 10. So minus top of 10. Okay, that's too much. So minus top of 5 minus top of 6 should be the exact one, and we're going to have that. So that is our image. And then now let's go ahead and say, wait, what else do we need to do? Oh, the error states. That's what I wanted, the error states. So for the error states, we're going to be doing a bit of checking. So for example, here we are going to check whether the number of days exceeds 31. And so we're going to say this, that we're going to give this a class name, and we want these classes to be dynamic. So we give it some curly brackets and some backticks, and then we're going to give it a $sign once again, and we're going to say that when the days is greater than 31, when this is true, then we want the what, the classes of text rows 600 to apply, which means that now if I change this into 99, look at this, now this changes, notice that, and then when I bring it back, then it goes back. Okay, and then we want some text to appear on the bottom, so let's go below this input, and we're going to check for whether the number of days is greater than 31, and when this is true, then you want to render a small element that says must be a valid date. I think that's what the text says, a valid day, and then you want this small text to have a class name of text rows dash 600, and then save it, and then let's change this back to 99. Let's see, there we go, but I don't want this to be bold, so let's see, let's change it into font light. Will that work? It doesn't work, so let's just remove it. And it doesn't work because all of these are bold fonts, I guess. Oh wait, I'm not font light, font regular, font normal, font dash normal, if I can just type it. Okay, nothing changes, that's okay. And then let's change this into a block element, because I want this, I don't want this space to be introduced, right? You just seen that. And then I want to have a margin on the top of 2. There we go. And then now we're going to do something similar for all of these. So let's copy this days. So copy this, paste it below this input, and change this to months. And for months, we want to check that months is greater than 12. And then this is going to say must be a valid month. And then we're going to do the same thing for year. And here it's going to say for when year is greater than 2023. Once again, you can change this to be dynamic depending on when you're watching this video, and you can set it to always check for the date dynamically rather than having this hard coded in as we're doing. And then we're going to say must be in the past, so here must be in the past. And then we're going to do the same thing for the labels. See how we copy this class name, how we added in these class names. So just going to copy this, and then inside the label here we're going to check that this is greater than 12, and if it is, then we want the text rows of 600. And then here for this label as well, we want to check that these years is greater than 2023. And did I change this? This should say months instead of days. Okay, and we're going to have that. So let's save this, and then let's try it out. So this is the number of days, and then let's change this into 23. See, that happens. Let's change this into 999. See, it says must be the past. Okay, so that seems to be working correctly. I don't know whether there is anything else that we're going to be adding, but you can try to check this. So let me place in month 4. Let's add in a date here. Let's say about 94. So 29 years. That looks okay. Is this evaluating correctly? Why am I having my doubts with this? Okay. So that is complete. All we need to do now is we need to check. And wait a minute, before we check anything, let's first of all change this favicon. So let's grab this favicon and let's place it inside this folder. So drag and drop it inside here, and then let's delete this favicon.ico. So delete, And then let's go ahead and say we can delete these 3 images as well. We're not using them anywhere. So inside the source folder, let's go ahead and check for inside the index.js. Let's go ahead and change this to say favicon-32 by 32.png. And then when I save this, then it should update here to the correct favicon. There we go, looking nice. Now we can close all of this, and then we can open up Frontend Mentor, and then let's say submit solution, but we still need to deploy this to GitHub. So let's open up GitHub, and then let's also open up Netlify, because we're going to be uploading this to Netlify. So Netlify, not Tailwind, come on. So Netlify, and then let's create a new repository, and then let me just call this age-calculator, and then this is going to be public repository. Let's create repository, and then let's go ahead and copy all of this, and then let's say Ctrl+J. We can now shut this down. We don't have any issues, so shut this down, and then let's say this git remote add origin, and then paste in our link, and then let's say this, let's say git add assets, then git commit, we'll say these are called assets, and then git add design, and git commit -m, let's say design, let's say git add public, and then git commit, let's say public, and then let's go ahead and let's cd into the source folder. Let's say git add images, git commit, we're going to say images, and then git add pages, let's say git commit -m, we're going to say age calculator component, and then let's go ahead and say git add styles, and git commit, we're going to say global styles, and then let's cd out of the source folder. So cd out of this, let's say git add dot git ignore git commit -m, we're going to say git ignore, and then git add package star, so meaning both package.json files. I'm going to say git commit, and I'm going to say install tailwind, and type tailwind css plus date fns, and then git add readme, so both readmes, and git commit, we're going to say readmes, and then git add style-guide.md, and git commit, and I'm going to say style guide, and then git add, let me see if we can add all .config files, .config.js, so both of them. I'm going to say git commit, and I'm going to say config files. Okay, and then let's say git push -u origin main, which is going to push it to our remote repository on GitHub. And as it does that, then let's log into Netlify. Let's import a new site here, and the new site, we're going to call it, let's see, it is called age calculator. So age calculator, let's go ahead and deploy this. This is the Next.js site. There we go. So npm run build is going to deploy this folder. So let's say deploy site, and then let's wait a minute. Oh wait, did it finish? I just deployed it without checking whether this uploaded. Oh, it's not going to be an issue. It finished already. So let's go ahead and say this. Let's change the site name here. Let's say TsbSankara. Let's say age-calculator. There we go. So save it, and then let's wait for this to finish deploying, and then once it finishes, we can check it out. And it is currently 11:42 p.m. my time. And so once it finishes, then you can visit this site, and we will be able to see our application right there. And by the reason why it shows this by default is because remember how we coded this in our index.js. We coded it to where is it, to the number of years, but we initialized this to have a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 31, and this one the same here, and then this one to 1900. So those are the values that it is currently evaluating here, in case you're wondering. But you can see that this is working correctly as you would expect, and it is working nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and submit this. So copy this link, let's go ahead and say this is the live site URL. We need the repository URL, so this one, copy it here, and then I'm going to say mobile first, and this is called age calculator app in next, or let me say using next.js and Git FNS. I think that should be correct. And then we don't need to add anything here, so let's say submit solution, and we should have that. There we go. So we can take a look at our solutions. So let's see this, and we can see that this is our solution, and then this is the website. Ooh, our solution is so much smaller. It's so much smaller, but here you can see that it looks almost nice. Not so bad. So that is going to be the end of the video, and I hope you learned something new and you enjoyed the video. And if you did, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.